Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
All right, so Lino, when you and I have a science topic where we don't have Caroline here, it ventures into the strange, and I do have a strange one. This one is an article I found in science.org, and the headline is, Researcher steps on deadly vipers 40,000 times to better predict snake bites.
Oh, my goodness me.
So
if we did that, can you imagine what our partners would say to us?
I know, right? Yeah. So we're talking about snake bites. Now, there is a link in our show notes. For any of you who are squeamish about snakes, before you click on the link,
yes,
there is a huge, and when I say huge, don't underestimate what I mean by the word huge, picture of a snake with its fangs out biting a boot, okay? So if you don't like seeing snakes in attack position with their fangs out on it, maybe just be careful. Otherwise, if you love snakes, click away. It's a sight to behold. Let's just say that. So this is all for research, obviously. And it says here, more than 5 million people are bitten by snakes every year. I'm wondering, Lino, if 90% of that's in Australia, but that's a whole other thing.
Oh, yeah, I think it could be in Australia. Yeah, we can't.
Probably
we
not,
just talking
but I just
about,
felt like saying that.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that we talk about Aboriginal people who have known the land and known when not to touch a snake and when to able to defend yourself.
Yeah,
so
where to
that's
go, where
one
not
of
to
the...
go. Yeah, all of that, And it says here that the results of snake bites can be death and permanent disability. So despite the advances in developing antivenoms, scientists still don't know why some snakes bite humans and others don't. So in step scientist João Miguel Alves Nunes, who has developed an, it says, unusual and some would say insane way to find out. So
that's probably the only way. I can't remember how you're going to do this experiment, man.
I know, right? So it's, hey, I've got an idea for an experiment, guys. So he's a biologist at the Butantan Institute, and he stepped on Jararicas, one of South America's most venomous and dangerous vipers, more than 40,000 times. The results of this risky experiment have been published this month in Scientific Reports, and there's a link to that also in the article. And it could help save lives, he says. So the rest of the article is an interview with him, so question and answer. So I'm just going to summarize some of the questions and answers that he's responded to. So it said, why did you decide to do this experiment? And he said, snake behavior has been generally neglected as a field of research, especially in Brazil, and most studies don't examine what factors make them want to bite. He said, for example, if you study malaria, you can research the parasite that causes the disease, but if you don't study the mosquito that carries it, you'll never solve the problem. So he says,
makes sense.
Yeah, makes
I
perfect
understand
sense.
that. Totally understand
it's a good approach. Yeah. So he said, up until now, the popular wisdom was that the Jararaca would only attack you if you touched or stepped on it. He said that was not what we found. And he would know because he tried over 40,000 times. So he would have enough information to tell you about that. So the next question is, why did you need to be the victim? And he said the best way, I love this question. So he said the best way to do this research is to put snakes and a human together. In this case, the human was me. So we put snakes inside a ring on the floor of our lab until they got used to it. Then I stepped in wearing special protective boots. I stepped close to the snake, also lightly on top of it. I didn't put my whole weight on the foot so I didn't hurt the snake. He says, I tested 116 snakes and stepped 30 times on every one of them, totaling 40,480 steps.
We show our steps on our. If you wear one of those smartwatches, it tells you how many steps you do, and you've done 40,000 steps and getting bitten by a snake.
I don't think there's an app that tells you how many times you've been bitten by a snake, because you would want that app to say 0 every time, right?
Yes.
So let me have your step count right next to your snake bite count.
That's snake. There we go. Snake bite count. That was. Oh my goodness.
So he was asked next, did you feel safe? And he said, that's a good question. I chose the protective boot based on the opinion of experienced colleagues in Bhutan. They were leather boots covered in foam that went 3 centimeters above my knees. He said, I felt 100% safe and the Jararaca bites never punctured them. However, when I was doing simulations with a rattlesnake, one punctured the boot and I was bitten. He said, yeah, so he was bitten by a rattlesnake. He said, thankfully, I was in the best place I could be. The Institute is a leader in anti-venom development, and I was very well assisted at its hospital. Unfortunately, I discovered that I'm allergic to both anti-venom and snake toxin. I had to take 15 weeks medical leave. So
15 weeks. Oh, my goodness me.
Sorry, 15 days, sorry. But
15 days.
So
I was going to say 15 weeks. Whoa.
Sorry, 15 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, of 40,480 attempts, he was bitten once. And fortunately, it was the rattlesnake and not the Jararaca that bit him. So, and then he found out he was allergic to the anti-venom and to snake bites as well.
Oh, no.
So there you go. He's the last person that should be doing this kind of research. But did that stop him? No, because it says, did you reconsider working with snakes after that? And he said, no, this is my passion. I love working with these animals. After the accident, I reinforced the boots so I would not be bitten again. Because
another centimeter thicker? Or?
And do you know what he probably reinforced his boots with, Lino? Most likely.
Roman concrete. Sorry, listeners.
Yeah, you and I are on the same wavelength. Yeah. So that's a science episode from many months ago, everyone. Roman concrete. Yep. So look it up. Yeah. We should send that suggestion to him, actually. So anyway, so because of his allergy, he now avoids directly handling the snakes. The lab technicians do it for him, and he concentrates on the experiment itself. So it says, what did your colleagues think when you proposed stepping on snakes? He said, it was seen as normal. It was a very common practice to study the non-venomous animals, to poke them with your finger and handle them, to observe their defensive behavior. My advisor's advisor pioneered the practice of offering his legs to snakes back in 1988. In those experiments, he did so only once and more gently, not directly touching the animals. So no one has done this in such a direct way to simulate bites like we did. He said, the hard part is that after my accident, some people started to see me as reckless, and that is not true. I ran these experiments with a solid scientific base, followed the same protocols for thousands of times, and had only one accident. And from that accident, a research question was born. I am now comparing the bite strength of rattlesnakes and Jararacas and how resistant different materials and shoes are to them. So yes, we giggle because it is a funny story. However, he is doing real science with this, and he has found an important question, like, for example, the strength of these snake bites through his experiments. So what did you discover then about snake behavior? He said, the smaller the animal, the greater the chance it will bite you. Another thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. So that was his first thing. He said another thing is that the females are more aggressive and prone to bite, especially when they are young and during the daytime. Kids, I'll tell you what, right? Kids.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He said, we also found that snakes get more aggressive in hotter temperatures. All of this is consistent with the epidemiologic data that we've gathered from snakebite hospital records. In Sao Paulo, for example, it is during the summer that we have the most accidents, mostly with smaller female snakes. And Lino, even you and I know that in summer, and spring and summer especially, warmer weather.
Yes.
Where even when you go to national parks or whatever, you have to be careful of snakes. And
very
even,
careful here.
Long grass in Australia anywhere, we're told to be careful.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You know, people have found snakes in their backyards, so we do have to be careful in warmer weather of that. So he said, we also saw that it makes a difference where you touch the snake's body when you step on it. When contact occurs on the head, the probability of a defensive bite is much higher than when you step on the mid-body or the tail. So he was then asked, there you go. Like when you touch it on the head, more than likely you're going to get a bite.
Exactly.
The mid-body or the tail, you might scare it off if you're lucky. There's less likely.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2 more questions there. So the second last one is, how can these findings help with snakebite prevention or management? He said local governments can't distribute anti-venom to everyone everywhere. Often it's sent to big hospitals. But some of the patients are bitten in towns where there is no anti-venom available and then travel to get assistance. So the hospital record,
it's travel around.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So he said the hospital record does not necessarily reflect the place where the accidents are happening. With our new findings, we can predict where bites may happen and plan better anti-venom distribution by combining.
Yeah.
So again, we might laugh that he's been bitten 40,000 times for science, but his experimentation will actually save lives and prevent permanent disability from snake bites as well, because they can now distribute antivenom in a more efficient way. In places that are more likely to have snake bites than simply just send a ton to a big hospital and send someone there. So
exactly.
Yeah, so he said we can identify the places where the animals are more likely to be aggressive. For example, warmer places with a higher female snake population should be a priority for antivenom distribution. So there is some real science to his trial and error. So lastly, he's asked any regrets, and he said, and I'll read this word for word, when I was bitten by the rattlesnake during the simulation, I recorded it with a camera. And what was the first thing I did? I called my mother right there. Now I have this embarrassing moment on video, me crying to my mother.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess he wants it to tell her.
Yeah. So we got
hey, Mum, I've been bitten by a snake.
Yeah. And he's crying about it. And it's on camera. So
you're
it's
a scientist. I know you're doing experiments, but that's your silly. That's absolutely what you did.
Son, don't you think you should get off the phone and get to hospital straight away?
That could be the first thing. You go, why are you calling me? Call you need emergency right now.
Why are you getting bitten by a snake? For science, Mum, for science. Don't give me that. I told you not to be a scientist. I wanted you to be a banker.
Exactly.
You're supposed to work in finance. But did you listen to me? No. And now look what happened. Now you've been bitten by a snake. I don't want to say I told you so, but...
exactly. And you can imagine this is spoken in Spanish. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be a lot faster, a lot more pronounced. Exactly right. There'd probably be a lot more hands involved. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it was a video call. True. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So he'll have that. He'll never live that down. However, important research, and it will save lives, not just in South America, but around the world as well, because it'll be data that can be used somewhere else. So can you imagine that? Definitely. Australian scientists, look, this guy over in South America, he's worked out a technique. We need one of you to volunteer to be bitten by a brown snake 40,000 times. I reckon a brown snake would eat the boots.
I think so. Yeah. I think the brown snakes will just go, hey!
Yeah, maybe you should use a robot in Australia for the brown snake. Probably eat the robot too, actually.
I think we'll build a robot and put the boot on the robot.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? In Australia, just avoid brown snakes. Just don't.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah. Was it red belly? Was
leave them alone.
Yeah. Don't worry. Because they'll just eat the experiment. They'll eat you. Yeah, they'll just, So just,
that's right.
Yeah, pretty nasty. Right. Yeah. Ooh. Fortunately, not in our part of Australia. We won't experience them here, but snakes do. I know that Caroline, I think it was, she went to Churchill Park. We know Churchill Park, not that far from here.
Yep. So far from us. Yeah, from us.
Saw a stick on the track. It wasn't a stick, it was a snake. So, just having a little bake in the sun, just having a little sunbake on its belly. So,
that's right. Yeah. Oh, they do that, and you think, that's a snake. Oh, that's not a stick. That's a snake. Okay.
I'm going the other way now.
Yeah.
Slowly. Don't chase me. Don't chase me. Okay, I'm running now. Yeah. I'm doing this for science.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Doctor Who. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who.